Hello and welcome to the Necromancer channel. This is Necromancer, and joining me as always is Jimmy Dingleberry. How are the Dingleberries hanging?
Going well today. Wearing a nice loose pair of shorts, so I'm a happy man. How are you?
How dingling? Yeah. So
how's the crypt?
Pretty good.
Okay,
Pretty dry. No wet rot in there.
Beauty.
Right, so we're here at Picard Season 3 finale and wrap-up. Finally, Star Trek is back. And as we notice, we have the Enterprise D in the opening credit. Very nice.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
Not my favorite Enterprise, but not the worst.
So, spoiler-free review for the episode. I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward from your intro there. You say Star Trek is back. What do you mean by that, if we can keep it to a minimum of spoilers?
I would say pretty much the next generation version of Star Trek. Well, possibly more into the films, I would say, because the television series was rather non-violent throughout much of its run in almost all of the episodes. For younger guys like us, we love to see starship battles, but starship battles was not the main focus of the episode. Now, you notice in most of the motion picture movies, we wanted to see space battle. We absolutely loved the Wrath of Khan, which was dominated by a huge space battle between the Enterprise and the Reliant.
Even having said that, even though we enjoyed seeing those in the motion pictures, at the end of the day, they were still driven by character. It was
absolutely that's true too.
That's right. It was the Kirk-Khan dynamic that made the space battle what it was, and it was like a submarine battle where everybody's running silent. You can't see each other, and you're both extremely vulnerable, and it's a battle of tacticians. So I think that's what made space battles in Star Trek. I mean, it's not Star Wars. Let's be straight. Star Wars is more, fantasy Western space, where this is science Western space that is driven by highly intelligent characters. And I think, without trying to offend or insult any Star Wars fans who don't like Star Trek, they tend to be more intellectual, the fan base. And therefore, the story and the character development is much more, I don't know if I want to say important, but it seems that there should be more weight placed on that in Star Trek than in Star Wars.
I would say so, yeah. Aside from the Jedi-driven Vader and Luke dynamic. I would say with Star Trek 3, we had some exciting shooting going on, exciting space battles. Star Trek 4 left me flat because there's no space battle in it.
Yeah, it's kind of like a fish out of water type of plot where they're trying to make their way in a world, and there are comedic moments in it as a result of trying to make their way in a world. It's like the Iron Man going back to King Arthur's court, isn't it? Yeah,
very good one. I think that was issue 150. Star Trek 4, it must have been really cheap to make. They just filmed it out in San Francisco, wherever they were.
Yeah.
So, it let me down. I mean, they were giving a message that was a very good one, which I already wholeheartedly endorsed. Save the whales.
Well, we go back to, we're getting a bit off topic, but I'm happy with that because it's kind of like a stream of consciousness discussion we're having here. You go back to what you said about Star Trek 3, a lot of space battles, but what I like about Star Trek 3 that they hadn't really achieved in the motion picture, Star Trek the motion picture, we hadn't really seen since some episodes of the original series, was the philosophy of the Klingons. Remember Commander Krug being told we're outgunned and outnumbered. They didn't know that the Enterprise was only manned by the command crew. They thought it was, manned by its crew of over 400. I don't know what they say. She outguns us 10-1 or something like that. And what does Krug say? We are Klingons. Exactly. It's so masterfully played by Christopher Lloyd. Yeah, there was the space battle, but I thought that the reason that wasn't the point of the scene. The point of the scene was showing how a Klingon would approach a battle and how that contrasts and compares to how a common sense human would approach insurmountable odds.
And who did he say that to? He said it to Maltz, the science officer, Klingon science officer.
That was John Larroquette played Maltz.
That's right.
After Kirk captured him, he said, "I do not deserve to live." And Kirk says, "Fine, I'll kill you later." And he doesn't actually kill him, of course. But the lore is that Maltz is the reason why humans started to understand the Klingon language, because he was actually taken as prisoner back to Earth, I guess, and taught them all about the Klingon language, which is a horrible thing for a Klingon, I suppose.
At any rate, so we have some very good cinematic, I would have to say. This could have been a film. And it would have been somewhat, certainly better than Insurrection for me, somewhat better than Nemesis for me, and maybe even a bit better than First Contact.
Okay.
The problem that I had with First Contact was that since it was a film, they needed to have a bad guy for the Enterprise to face. So who was the bad guy? It winds up being this creature nobody ever suspected existed. It's a Borg queen. Oh.
So you need an individual, like a master and commander type,
exactly.
Like Sauron.
I felt that really took away from what the Borg were supposed to be. If the Borg were a truly hive mind, then that makes them far more frightening and far more dangerous. If they're commanded by a queen, she's fallible.
If you look at the TNG, the Next Generation films, that's probably my favorite, is First Contact.
I would have to say, all of them, for sure.
Yeah, I really liked seeing the Worf fighting in Zero G. That was extremely good. But back to this episode, I suppose, because we've taken quite a few tangents. So my spoiler-free review, definitely worth watching. I mean, I think this is probably the best episode of Trek, this and the previous episode, that we have gotten in the last almost 20 years, let's say about 18 years.
Absolutely. I've got a friend who's my age who loved The Next Generation at the time. He hasn't really watched Star Trek since Enterprise. He said it's just garbage. He's not impressed by it at all. He hasn't watched what's been on lately. I absolutely advise him to watch this one.
It took some getting used to. The first 2 or 3 episodes, I really wasn't sure. And then it tended to change gears and change tone a little bit around the 4th episode. So it was one of those series that instead of thinking like with other sci-fi series that were concurrent, like The Mandalorian season 3, I was thinking, Wednesday again. Jeez. I guess The Mandalorian's on. I guess I'm going to have to watch it so I can talk about it on the internet. This wasn't the case with Picard season 3, where instead I was looking forward to receiving another fresh episode.
Yeah.
And I am definitely going to go back and watch this series again.
Yeah,
not all
halfway,
of Picard.
Yeah, but a lot of it. Halfway through the season, I was looking forward to it too.
I highly recommend it. I would say if you just take season 3 as an outlier, I would rate this an 8 out of 10 compared to all of modern Trek, which is Kurtzman Trek. I would rate this a 10 out of 10. And then compared to all of Trek altogether, this is a 7.5 out of 10.
It's actually not bad compared to other real Star Trek and not Turdsman Drek.
That's right, which we're going to get more of, sadly.
Yeah.
But
well, having said that, let's go into the spoilers.
Okay, we open, in this opener, so we can see the Enterprise D is here. And if we're really careful, I don't know if we can get it or not. It isn't here, but you see it turns into the Borg. The Borg cube, but actually it's in one of the warp trails previously where the Borg cube is just, and it's quick enough to be subliminal that the Borg cube is just at the top of the screen. You'd have to put it on slow motion to be able to see it. So of course we leave our command crew. The last time we saw our command crew, they took over the bridge of the Enterprise. The last time, this is the Enterprise D, of course.
And on the Titan. Oh, yes, a voice by Walter Koenig.
Yes.
The original actors who is still alive of the original series.
So he is, instead of Pavel Chekhov, which was the character he played in the original series and in the motion pictures of the original series, this is Anton Chekhov, and he's supposed to be his son.
And named for Anton Yelchin, who played Chekhov unfortunately in the J.J. Jerk films, who has died.
Yes. Yeah.
Quite sad.
Yep. So we know that what's going on Earth at the moment, or in Sector 001, is there's a little throwback for you. And if you don't know where it's from, you'll have to watch the end what season was it? Season 2?
I think it was season 3, the best of both worlds.
Best of both worlds. All the Federation has been taken over, just to catch you up, taken over by the Borg. All the under 25s have been assimilated by the Borg in some form of organic Borg assimilation.
When we're this old, we can say all the kids.
Hey, speak for yourself, Sonny.
If you're 125, you're a kid.
Yeah. So all the kids have been assimilated. They've taken over the Federation fleet, and the fleet is operating as one. They're flying in formation. All the ships are talking to each other, and this is why we've had to go back to an analog, quote unquote, version of a Starfleet vessel that isn't connected to the hive, I suppose.
Yes, because by the late 24th century, you still have analog and digital. Sure you do.
Makes complete sense. So they track down this Borg signal, and it turns out it's coming from Jupiter. Of course, the Great Red Spot on Jupiter still exists.
Bonus question: the Great Red Spot. What can we say about it lately in the past 40 to 50 years?
No idea.
It's gotten a lot smaller.
It's changing.
As a young man, the Great Red Spot was oblong, a lot longer than this.
Yes.
Yeah, it's gotten smaller. So it stands to reason, perhaps by their time, the Great Red Spot should be really tiny.
Maybe it's a new one.
Hiding in the Great Red Spot, which is a nice place to put it, in the middle of a maelstrom. There we have the Borg.
There we have the Borg. But you know what I didn't like about this was the spikes. It harkens back to the very first JJ Star Trek movie, where Nero's ship is just a mass of spikes.
Are they trying to scare us with needles?
I don't know. Possibly. Somebody has a phobia, I suppose. I mean, the Borg cube, what is this supposed to be? A transmitter? A transmitting antenna?
Is it part of Alex Turdsman's fetish for torturing eyeballs?
Possibly. It's just, it seems out of place to me here. I don't understand why it's here. It doesn't work for me. We go to the Enterprise bridge. It seems a little less well lit than it was at the end of the last episode. Do you see this?
Right. Yeah, that's right.
I think it's more like an episode of The Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson from, late 2009. A little bit too dark. We need a bit better lighting. I like the strip lighting up the top, but it's not as bright as it should be. And the uniforms aren't as colorful as they should be.
Of course not.
All the colors are muted. And that is not Star Trek, at least not the Star Trek I'm used to. It's brighter, of course, than the bloody bridge of the Titan. But it's still, there's the bridge of the Titan. Ridiculous. Honestly, look at this. What do you...
Is it a nightclub? It looks like a nightclub.
So, look, a lot of people are talking about legacy, which is where this may go if enough people sign the petition. Link down in the description. If enough people sign the petition, and of course, if Kurtzman and CBS come to an agreement with Terry Matalas, we may get a continuation of this series, which we'll talk about probably towards the end of the review. But if it's more of this,
Who wants it? I don't
know. It's just not really well lit. Now, Beverly says, if Earth falls, everything falls. Every planet, every system. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's a little bit elitist.
It's a little bit elitist?
Yes, a little bit too elite. You think that humans are the greatest species there are in the Federation? They may have been the cornerstone, but I'm sure the Federation will survive without Earth, just like it survived without Vulcan in JJ verse.
Well, to me, it's kind of like I just would draw a modern parallel, like a current parallel. If the UK falls, the United Kingdom, does the US, Canada, Australia, and countless other, what was originally British colonies, do they fall as well?
Or to put it the way that most of the fans would understand, if the United States falls, I'm sure many people in the United States thinks the whole world will go poof. But guess what? It won't.
No. Because we have China now. Yeah. Sure, it will throw a monkey wrench in the works and life will be economically very difficult for a period of time, but then we'll come good. So I didn't agree with that statement.
Nice. You have many small starships attacking the space dock.
And the space dock holding its own, which was surprising. I was surprised it held its own for as long as it did. This space dock must be incredibly powerful. Even a Constitution-class ship,
No more than half a kilometer long.
Yeah,
really,
was supposed to be able to have enough power to destroy a planet.
Presumably, city by city.
This space station, some people, their headcanon is that Janeway's in command of the space station. But I quite frankly think Janeway's on some beach in, southern France, enjoying the sunshine. Anyway, that's my headcanon. But yeah, the space station is doing a good job throwing, torpedoes at these formations of ships, and a good action sequence. And it kind of sets the stakes, but it does go on a little bit too long to be believable, in my opinion.
Well, a couple of games I've seen, the star bases are very tough customers. Certainly, the star base, the main base around Earth, would have to be extremely strong and able to move in its orbit.
Now, it seems to me that it's also powering the planetary defense screen, or the shield, because later on in the episode, once the star base finally falls, then the shields for Earth fall as well.
Which is stupid as well.
Yeah, convenient. Convenient for the story. Now, even though we're giving you all these nitpicks, we still love the episode.
Oh,
Don't
absolutely.
get us wrong. Yeah. I still love the episode. Still worth watching. We're just doing what fans, really knowledgeable fans, tend to do. This is what we see. This is a nice moment where Picard basically says, well, we got to go to the cube. It's been an honor serving with you all. Finally. No apologies. It's just awesome people respecting each other. Yeah, so I thought that was really well done. So, of course, him and Riker and Worf go to the cube to try to save Jack, while everybody else hangs out. Data and Geordi's left in command. We've got Counselor Troy and Beverly are left on the ship.
Yeah, and no goodbye kiss for ex-girlfriend Beverly.
For mother of your child, no goodbye kiss. Yeah, so again, not too well lit, but it shouldn't be well lit, I think, because we're on a Borg ship. That's okay.
Fine.
Yeah, that's okay.
Ship, fine.
This is what it should
Not the Enterprise.
Like. No. So Picard has to go to find Jack. He says, this is farewell to you guys. I'm done being a captain. Now I have to go be a father. Well, good father-son message. How good is a positive father-son message? Something you rarely get. Again, a little bit of, Lord Dredd from Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future. This harkens back to that a little bit. But what are you going to do? I think that's the problem is, you see, he's one of the first few Borg I've seen with hair. I mean, even Jerry Ryan didn't have hair when they first introduced her as a Borg drone.
And he's got a very similar face piece to Locutus.
Yeah, he sure does. That laser.
Except he gets to keep both his eyes.
Well, he's organic Borg anyway, we suspect. All right, that's what we're told.
I suppose that makes him a Borganic.
Sure, he's a Borganic. Meanwhile, the Titan. Look who it is. Look who it is. Jerry Ryan. Being a girl boss, but my favorite kind of girl boss. Handsome one. So here's Jerry Ryan telling him, well, we're going to have to do something. We're all going to have to sacrifice ourselves. This is your duty. Step up. We're going to decloak, do a strafing run, and cloak again. And we're going to keep doing it and keep disrupting the attack as long as we can.
Fantastic. Good work. Now, of course, if Jerry Ryan is ever near you at a comics convention, you now have to have a photo taken with it.
Me?
Yes.
Okay. Will do. We got Jack and Picard. Picard is confronting the Borg Queen here, who's behind Jack. Worf and Riker are on another level and have to fight some drones. There are still a few drones functional, so they fight a few Borg drones. And there's your strafing run here. Let's get a little bit, just for commentary's sake, a little bit of action shots of the Titan doing its strafing run. So here we got Worf having to fight Borg drones using his sword. He gets shot a couple of times and takes it like a Klingon would. Rah! The Enterprise D does a strafing run on the cube and decides they're going to have to do a Death Star run. How good is the Death Star run? What did you think about that?
I had said it at the time that it started, and I said, "Oh, so they're copying Return of the Jedi."
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
What the hell?
It's fun.
It's not that bad.
And I like how Yeah.
What else would you? What would be more exciting? It's more exciting to do it fine.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't. When was Return of the Jedi? 40 years ago.
Oh my God.
So we can't really fault them for this.
You know, they talk about how Data believes he can do it, rather than being able to calculate that he can do it. He's using his guts, his gut feeling, and he asks his buddies to trust him. Which, yeah, I can see why you'd sigh at that. For me, Data has always aspired to be more human, and he finally is, and finally has a gut feeling. So I'll let this one slide. Comments? What do you think?
No, not really. I just said fine, whatever.
How good is Bev?
She's so fantastic now.
Well,
yes.
Yeah, but so she's running tactical like a tactical officer, right? Boom, 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 boom. And everybody's thinking.
Yep, she said she's had to use tactics in the past 20 years. So
yeah, makes sense.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. They all look at her like, what the hell was that? Here we go. My favorite scene. Right? So Worf is injured and he's talking to Riker, and he says, "Oh, what are we going to do? We still have these drones."
The sword is so heavy.
He's surprised that the sword is so heavy. And then it turns out that there's a phaser in the handle. Why didn't you use the phaser, he says? Because swords are fun.
Well, he is a Klingon, so not bad.
That's excellent. I thought it was brilliant. Yeah. I laughed my butt off.
Now, I have to agree with him on that.
Yeah. Because it's true. It's funny because it's true.
It's
something that Worf or a Klingon would do, isn't it? He delivers it in his classic Worf way that a typical Klingon wouldn't. He's a bit more human-sized of Worf. I bloody well loved it. Space dock falls, like we said was going to happen. Here's Data still flying through with a big grin on his face. He's enjoying flying through. Space dock finally falls, and Earth falls as well with it. At about the same time as Data, making his way through the inside of the Borg cube, finally gets to the Death Star center. Mm-hmm. Where is it? There it is. Finally gets there. Yeah. All right. That's exactly what it is. Shoots it, and they try to fly out. And then we have the confrontation between Luke and the Emperor. Picard and Jack.
He takes some wires out of Jack. And I guess he jacks himself in.
And this is a really good father-son moment.
It really is.
Where if I can't convince you to come on out, then I guess I'll stay here with you because you changed my life.
Yeah, so they're inside their minds or inside the Borg matrix.
Yeah, and he says, well, you changed me. You don't realize that things are missing from your life before you have kids. Seeing that Picard is willing to sacrifice his golem body, that works. It kind of works for me, and it's a really good father-son moment. And you see how that changes Jack's outlook and brings Jack back from the brink. And they escape the Borg Queen. He unjacks himself, and Picard rips himself out as well.
Unplugs himself. He is a golem.
And so this is a good scene too. Who shows up?
Very nice.
The bloody Enterprise in the middle of the cube. How good is that?
Fantastic.
Oh, that's how the ships should be. The ships are characters. Love that. Love that scene. And then everybody gets their reunion. As they destroy the cube, everybody that was jacked into the organic Borg was evolved or assimilated, becomes unassimilated. It all fades away very quickly. Great shot of Sidney LaForge there. Man, I hope they do these people justice and give us a series with this crew. Big fan of Sidney LaForge as well.
Yeah.
We got Murrah in the background. And then, what's the other one? I forget the name. Pity that we lost the Vulcan science officer, but maybe we'll get, who knows if we'll get any more of this. And then basically what we've got is Return of the King. So if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, Return of the King, I think I famously remember Elijah Wood talking about meeting Jack Nicholson at one of the award shows. And, Elijah Wood, who played Frodo, says to Jack Nicholson, what did you think of that Lord of the Rings, the final movie? And Jack Nicholson said, it was good, but what happens in the end? And Elijah Wood says, what do you mean? You didn't watch the end of it? And Jack Nicholson says, no, too many endings.
It just drags on and on and on and on.
That's one way to look at it. I think for some people it would feel like it drags. For people like me, a big Lord of the Rings fan, and I've been reading the book since I was 12, it's nice to see how they tie up every story. And that's what they do in this finale as well. So the next 20 minutes, 15 minutes or so is spent on every character and what happens with them. Reunions and farewells, tearful, reunions. Here's War falling asleep after the battle, sleeps in the chair. We can all relate to that. If we're
is he dead, Data? I do not know, Jordy.
Yeah. Anyway, so they're all having fun. Jordy knows his girls are fine. We got the family reunion here. We've got the Titan and the Enterprise on Earth. Then we get Tuvok, who is conveniently still alive. Admiral Tuvok talking to his old crewmate, 7 of 9,
Admiral
about
Tuvok
her future.
Seems to be a lot older than he should be.
Yeah, I agree. They could have done better with his makeup here. She shouldn't be gray at all.
I mean,
they should try to be making him look younger.
He's only 140 by now.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be that old.
No.
He's got another 100 years left in him.
Easily. Anyway, 7 decides she's going to resign. Which, I thought, that's where we're going to go with this. There's a bit of a pity because we all see her value, and it's just a pity that Shaw didn't see her value, her captain. But as it turns out, Shaw did see her value the whole time, and he was using a technique that some of us know of as tough love. Unfortunately, she didn't interpret it the way it was meant, in the spirit it was meant. Or, it's difficult for some men to emote. Maybe they do what's best for you, but you don't realize it. But he recommends her. He recommends her for promotion. And so she becomes captain of her own starship. Wow. Watching a good actor convey proper emotion, fantastic. Look at that.
Yep,
right? It's elation.
A terrific actress.
Yep. Elation and relief.
And
okay.
Here we have Raffi Don't Care. Well, that's a nice little scene. Cute. It's nice that her son forgives her drugging, and then we have to have Worf come and talk about how amazing she is.
Well, yes, it's the whole trope of Thor and Captain Marvel, played by Chris Hemsworth and Brie Larson, and Thor grabs his new souped-up, powerful Thor hammer and says, "I like this one," meaning we're supposed to like this one as well.
Yep. Nope. You can't pull the wool over our eyes.
No. Look, Raffi was not as insufferable this season as she has been in previous seasons, but she's not a character I like.
That's right.
And, you can't really undo a first impression
and
or a second impression.
You sure as hell can't sell an ex-druggy grandma as a badass, beat up every guy she meets.
No.
Sorry.
Nope.
Not buying it.
Some damage you can't undo.
Now, what should do with Raffi Don't Care is make her become a very competent first officer with experience, instead of, I'm going to beat up every person I see because I'm a warrior. I'm a grandma warrior.
I love this scene. it's probably the only way.
Good. This was really quite good.
Anyway, so here she's talking to Data, who finally has a psyche.
Or a bit more. So clearly they've done this before. Back in the days of TNG, that's what it's alluded to, that he's seen her more often than we've ever realized.
Right.
And she's done what she could for the android at the time. So
they're over an hour past their session time because Data just won't shut up. And then again, one of the better scenes in the whole series is when he finally decides to leave. And here's Riker waiting outside. And look at Riker. He's just, Jonathan Frakes. Typical Riker, just leaning up against the door. Big, huge grin on his face. Ask how everything goes. And then once Data's out of earshot, he says, "Is he still batshit?" Okay, there's some cursing I can get behind. Otherwise, there shouldn't be any cursing. So yeah, all those farewells, I thought that was excellent. Every scene there made me feel good. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed every scene. A lot of fan service, and yeah, I was on board for all of it. And then we go back to the Starship Museum. They say it's a year later, and we can see here we've got the Enterprise D in the lower left frame. So it is now out on display right beside the Stargazer.
Presumably, yeah.
Presumably the Stargazer, sure. And we get to the bridge, and we see that we've got Picard and Riker standing beside Geordi, who has basically brought the Enterprise completely back up to its original snuff, which I guess it was for the combat run.
It would have to be.
And it all seems to be going quite swimmingly. They shut things down, and just as they leave the bridge, when they shut things down, you hear
Majel Barrett, the great old woman of Trek, and it fair brought a tear to my eye to hear her.
Yeah,
long since departed. She was there since season 1 of the original series.
She was Nurse Chapel.
She was Nurse Chapel, and she was in the pilot that did not get picked up, The Cage. She was the original number 1.
Yeah, and Riker says as they leave the bridge, "I miss that voice," and I think we all kind of do.
I certainly do. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So when our computers can talk to us in a few years, I think I'd certainly want Majel Barrett's voice on mine, or possibly HAL 9000.
Oh gosh, I wouldn't want Hal. Are you kidding me? I would be paranoid. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. I'd be looking over my shoulder constantly.
It would depend on the mood, but
yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, I think I would like Majel Barrett's voice.
Yeah.
On my computer.
So here are two admirals in a shuttle on their way to inspect Jerry Ryan's ship. 7 of 9 ship, because Jack Crusher has been fast-tracked and is now an ensign in Starfleet. Isn't that great? And he has also, I guess there was discussion and decided to take the name Picard. He is now Jack Picard. They could say Jack Picard Crusher, but I think they're just going to call him Picard, from what I understand.
Strangely, he has not changed his first name to Jacques.
Jacques Luc.
Jacques.
Anyway, so they are assigned to what we see as the Titan.
So what happened to the Enterprise F? Was it destroyed in the battle?
Hold on here. NCC 1701G, Star USS Enterprise.
Was the F destroyed? The Odyssey class, apparently?
They've renamed
Star Trek Online.
Quite frankly, I don't care. There are questions that are raised, but I don't care. I wish it wasn't quite the Shangri-La class. I wish it was like a Neo-Constitution instead, because this is, as I understand it, the Shangri-La.
I understood that's what the Titan was. A Neo-Constitution is what Riker called it. Clearly, there's a bunch of parts from the original motion picture Enterprise model here. All of the deck lights in front, absolutely the same thing. Around the front outer saucer section, that is. The phaser ports are the same. What are they trying to do with that? I don't know. I don't know. It's just bizarre.
Well, look, it's close enough for me. I'd probably like to see a proper disc for the saucer and not have it kind of cut off at the back. Kind of reminds me of it. Yeah.
It'll do. What's the purpose of the ship? What's the class of the ship for? What is it?
How is it the flagship now? It's the flagship, even though it's underpowered. It's not the strongest ship. Does it have to be the strongest ship to be the flagship? I would
Pretty
think
much,
so.
yeah.
I would think so.
The admiral of Starfleet, the top admiral of Starfleet, that's his personal ship, the flagship. That's why it's called a flag ship. Maybe that hasn't happened in previous films as well. I don't know what's going on with that, because you got a flagship run by a captain, James T. Kirk, rather than a commodore such as Decker. A bit bizarre. Anyway.
Bit bizarre. Yeah. Picard's happy. God, he looks old there, doesn't he? Jeez. Dak gets on the bridge and pulls a Kirk swagger moment where he's ordering people around, even though he's a freaking ensign. Blah, 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 blah. He's just screwing around, but you can't tell that he's just screwing around. And Seven tells him to get out of her chair, which I kind of like. I thought that was great. You boss him around. But then we realize that Raffi's on the bridge as well as a first officer. And I'm like, what? What is this? And, you know, there is a bit of Kurtzman Trek going on here.
Yes, certainly. Everybody's going to think, what? She shares the quarters with the captain?
Well, that. But, I mean, more so from my perspective. So we have Jack. He's a male.
Mm-hmm.
And who else do we have? We have the ops. The helmsman? Is it?
Right.
The ops?
The ops.
Male?
Forge is the helmsman, yeah.
On the bridge.
And
that's it. Again.
Yeah, so nope, not looking forward to a show like that.
If they do it, they're going to call it Legacy, but it's unlikely that they're going to do it. Highly unlikely. You know, some people are saying 1% chance. Some people are saying not a snowball.
Do I want Legacy for Turdsman to come in and wreck? No, thank you. I'm in agreement with Doomcock. When we get rid of Turdsman Drek, then Star Trek has a chance to come back.
Yeah.
It's because he wasn't really involved in this much that we have good Trek.
Yeah.
Although his influence can be seen in some places.
And then as we move towards the end of the episode, we see written and directed by Terry Matalas, and the original crew is playing poker.
All
fantastic. Right. And the camera just keeps rotating around the table, around the table, around the table. And, you know, it's like they don't want to say goodbye. It's just like we don't want to let go because we know it's very likely the last time we're ever going to see this crew together.
That's it.
Yeah, so I think it holds here for about 2 minutes, just rotating around the table as the credits run. And then we get a mid-credit scene. Do we remember the mid-credit scene?
Quite hilarious.
Oh!
Nice to erase the crap that Turdsman did last season. Thank you.
Sean Delancey
Very
is
glad
cute.
to erase it.
All right.
Yep.
And he shows up and he says, "Oh, so human of you to think of time so linearly. I thought you were dead." No, not at all. Big middle finger to Kurtzman, which is another reason why we're probably going to not get, Star Trek Legacy. It's basically by bringing him back here. You humans think so linearly. Terry Matalas didn't like what was done to Q.
Good.
Right?
Good
He gives
work.
him the finger. And he didn't like what was done to Picard. And earlier in the season, he gives him the finger.
Good work.
In the synthetic flesh, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think Matalas is on our side. A little bit too much Kurtzman. And from what I understand, Matalas was always involved in Trek from DS9. He was just an assistant, right? He was a PA, I think. But then got into writers' rooms towards the end of Voyager and into Enterprise. He met Jerry Ryan on the set of Voyager. So
look at that. He's actually doing good things for Trek. He's basically the polar opposite of Commander Kathleen Kennedy.
So there it is. Season finale. Love letter to Star Trek The Next Generation and to Star Trek because, again, we haven't gotten anything like this for 18 years. I'm going to look back on it fondly and be grateful that we got it. But when new Star Trek comes out, you're damn right. I'm going to be reviewing it here with you, Necromancer, and we're going to bury it in
be ripping it apart. Yeah. So it had better be good. Yeah. It had better be Trek. And you can start with that by turning the freaking lights on.
There you go.
I like the dark, but not in my Star Trek.
Okay, so thanks for stopping by.
With that, like, share, and comment. no matter what kind of comment you have to make, we will certainly read it and take it into consideration. And with that, we would say, live long and prosper.